not our presentation.
Hi everybody, it's Owl. Welcome to another episode of the Closing Tag. This is episode 12, and there's no really interesting name of the episode. It's just a good old-fashioned interview episode. This time Ben Phipps is the co-founder for GalacticBlue. He also runs his own company. He does website work, does some pretty amazing back-end stuff. And he's an unapologetic jazz homer and liberal. So we get into a lot of interesting conversations about the Jazz, about LeBron. Is he on his way out? We touch on politics. We touch on technology, AI. Where do we see society going from here? As far as, are we going to see an AI driven society, or are we going to be seeing more of a symbiotic type of relationship between AI and humans? As well as, politically, where do we stand from here? So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you guys will find a lot of what we talk about very entertaining and very informative. And yeah, we teased the idea of maybe doing a second interview. We could easily do another 40-minute interview just on hot sauce and food alone. That's how much fun we have talking with each other. And I hope you have as much fun listening to this. And it's all because of our amazing sponsors. The first being Galactic Blue, your professional web development, graphic design, and logo design resource. Visit galacticblue.net for more information on how your business can benefit from our services, as well as the Telltale Heart, the indie short film that's just killing all the industry, all the film festivals. They just barely got another selection for a short film festival out in Mexico City, so that's awesome. Visit telltalemovie.com for more information on that film. And with that, I present episode 12. If there was going to be a title for it, it would be Stockton is Not Over Party, because John Stockton, number 12. Yeah. Enjoy the interview with Ben Phipps. So people that listen to podcasts have regularly heard me introduce myself as the co-founder for Galactic Blue, and that's because there was one other party involved. He is the co-founder for Galactic Blue, owner and operator of Blue Topaz Digital, a backend developer by trade, rabid Utah Jazz fan, unapologetic liberal, and a soon-to-be husband. Ben Phipps is my guest.
Thank
Ben,
you.
it is an honor to have you in the pod. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great.
Yeah. All right. So let's rip the Band-Aid off. The Utah Jazz. Let's talk about that. Disappointing end to what was otherwise a tremendous season. Top seed overall in the NBA. Bounced in the second round by a surprisingly tough Clippers team. Just so many question marks all over the board. There's only like 7 players coming back that we know of. Where do you think the Jazz go from here?
I think mostly onward and upward. I think that we show our stars, aka Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. Yes, we are still serious. We want to win, and we are willing to do what it takes to win a championship. So I think we're in good hands. I think we're in good shape. I think that the ownership, the front office, Ryan Smith, Dwayne Wade, we want to win. And as we all know, Dwayne Wade is a mentor. And one of the reasons Donovan Mitchell is even in the NBA. So I think the future is bright. Onward and upward, baby, all the way. I think we are just getting started on building a dynasty. So let's go.
I hope so. Yep. And we'll definitely circle back and touch on Wade here in a bit. All of that in mind, the talk has certainly come down to the point guard position, primary and backup. Mike Conley's an unrestricted free agent. He's free to go wherever he wants, within reason, I'm sure. At the same token, Joe Ingles' contract is coming up due at the end of next season, and he's already intimated that he's going to be retiring soon. If you had to make a choice, as to who to keep, who to let go, are we keeping Conley or are we keeping Ingles?
That's a tough one. It really is, because both are good options. They're both a yes, right? Here you have an injured Conley, or let me rephrase that. Here you have a great point guard, probably one that fits in the best with the Jazz, but he's injured a lot. Can he and will he stay healthy through the postseason? If the answer to that is yes, you just don't get rid of Conley. Now, conversely, Ingles, he is a Jazz man if I've ever seen one. He just is. He's an ambassador, and he is sort of the glue to this team. So in my very, very unprofessional opinion, you keep Ingles because he's essential.
Yeah.
You keep him because he's great. And also from a numbers point of view or a gameplay point of view, I mean, off the bench, he is exactly what you want, right?
Right.
So it's a quandary. So if Conley can be healthy, then yes, keep him, because he really is the missing piece that we needed to get to the finals. It just so happened injuries hobbled that, but at the same time, Ingles is aging out. He wants to move on with his life, but at the same time, he wants to do it on his terms.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is, if you had to move one, if it was gun to the head, answer one or the other, I'd say Conley, only because I'm concerned about his injury history.
Yeah.
Ingles is our most tradable piece. He's got the most trade value. Other teams would love to have him, but I just as a homer, I want to see him retire in a Jazz jersey, and I think that's what he wants too, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know Twitter's been, going off, and, again, this could just be Twitter going Twitter. Talk about Ingles possibly being traded at the trade deadline, and then, whoever they trade to, it gets bought out, and then he comes back and pretty much retires as a Jazz player. What are your thoughts on that potential aspect?
The only issue I have with that is I don't want to give, or I don't want to send the message. It's like, listen, we have to make a move. You go here, well, we go win a championship, and then after the glory, we bring it back just to make sure that you go back to Australia wearing a Jazz uniform. That's the only issue I take with it. But if that's how it has to be, and if that is the right business decision, or if that's what wins us a championship, it pains me to say, but I think you'd get it, and I think I'd have to be okay with it.
What are your thoughts on him maybe being an assistant coach later on down the line?
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a great one. Man, what a mentor he'd be too. His grittiness, his grind, his leadership. I love it all. And as I've mentioned, imagine him being in the media circuit, right? Imagine him being the next Matt Harpering. Thank God. Moving Harpering out, taking a guy, Joe Ingles in. He's just got such a great vision and intellect for the game of basketball.
Yep.
As a coach or as a commentator, man, it would be great to have him. Yep. I hope he doesn't go. That said, I think we all know that his aspirations are to go back home to Australia.
Yeah. And you can never undervalue, what he brings to the locker room, brings that levity, brings that, kind of, getting serious when we need to get serious, but at the same time, jovially, joking around, whether behind closed doors or on Twitter with Donovan Mitchell and some of the other players.
Yeah. I agree. I think that he's a great glue guy. You hear that word tossed around a lot. He's a great glue guy. But in the case of Joe Ingles, he defines the glue guy.
Yeah, he is the definition. You look him up on Webster dictionary, and See, the definition of glue guy is pictures right there.
Or in the thesaurus, he goes by Elmer's. So yeah, he is glue guy. So my personal belief is that he actually does retire a Jazz man. What comes next for him, I don't know, but I'm all here for it. I'm a huge Ingles fan. Do whatever we have to take to keep him around. I know that the money side of things says he's our most tradable asset, but again, being a homer, I want to keep him here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ben Phipps is our guest. So the Jazz pretty much have a cap on what they can and cannot do this offseason. I've heard numbers ranging from we're 5 million under the cap to we're pretty much already at the tax threshold. I am curious, since the Jazz are pretty much not going to be doing much of anything in free agent market, can I get your thoughts on other point guards throughout the league? There's talk of Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving wearing out their welcomes. Shocking, I know. You know, we also have like Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyle Lowry as free agents, even backups like Raul Neto and Patty Mills on the market. What point guard intrigues you the most this offseason?
The most, I have a few. The least, Ben Simmons, not a chance. I just think he's got the Kardashian curse. You know, we have enough problems in Utah with the drought that we don't need that. That said, you know, when I was looking at the topic, I did come across Raul Neto. And man, I loved him on the Jazz. Grit, grind, he shows up. Yeah, he's injury prone a little bit. Not like a Mike Conley injury prone, but young. Passionate. So he was one of the first names that came to mind. Of course, Kyle Lowry came in. Kyle Lowry, Mike Conley. You're looking at essentially the same player, same age, same salary. Is Lowry as injury prone as Mike? I actually don't know. But I thought, okay, well, what if we get away from that $30.5 million contract? Who would be the next best? And this might be an unpopular take, but Lonzo Ball. I wasn't a fan of his. Didn't know much about him, which is probably I wasn't a fan of his. Younger, way less expensive at around $8.5 million a year, opens up a ton of cap space. And I think the only thing that he's missing is the Utah Jazz development staff. Imagine Lonzo Ball with our development coaches, the places he could go.
Yeah, I agree. And he's an unrestricted free agent as well, as best as I can tell. That or New Orleans just has absolutely no desire to re-sign him. And
he's
I don't know.
Free agent.
Oh, he's a restricted. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like, do you think he's gonna be worth only 8 to 10 million?
Is he going to be in the future tense? No, I think he'll be worth.
No, I mean,
more,
like here and now. Like if he were to sign a contract today.
Here and now, today, yeah, I think it'd be right around there. Absolutely.
Oh, nice. All right, Ben Phipps joining us. So then we kind of switch over from the younger to the older. You and I both know we've both been around the block a few times, both huge, long-time sports fans, seen a lot of legendary players either come and go or change their game up to maybe keep up with an evolving league, or their deteriorating bodies. I actually had James Scott on the podcast not long ago and asked him this similar question. Are we seeing or about to see a similar shift in LeBron James, or is this pretty much the end for him?
I think that I think it's the end for him. I think that he is and always will be LeBron James, right?
Yeah.
He's still going to play, still going to be great. But I think that he's waiting for it to, and I get it. He's like, I want to play in the NBA with my son. I want to play with Bronny. And that makes a fantastic headline. And it will for years to come. But is he ring chasing LeBron? Is he, I'm taking my talents to South Beach LeBron? Is he, let me beat Kobe's championship record LeBron? No, I don't. I think, I sincerely believe that he is nearing the end. And I mean, he's already the general manager of a team. So I think that's his next lateral move.
Yeah. Lateral move, being a general manager, maybe being an assistant coach. I mean, we've already seen him coaching up his son Bronny at high school
Oh, yeah.
games, pulling him aside, giving him pointers or whatnot on what he needs to do to maybe take his game to the next level. Do you think that might be kind of a hindrance to the Lakers as far as, you've got 40, $50 million, tied up on this guy who's on the wrong side of 30 and basically is not even close to where he used to be?
Yes and no. I think the financial end, um, I'll say this. As long as he comes out and is LeBron James and makes those clutch plays, makes the baskets, plays the game, mentors and coaches the young core, then yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. I really do think that he's LeBron James. I mean, but he's not LeBron James coming back to the Cavaliers and winning this iconic storybook championship. Those days are over. But as far as a hindrance goes, it won't be a hindrance if A, he gets injured, or B, he just says, you know what, I'm done, and kind of coasting until my son comes in the league or until I decide to hang it all up and be done.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I can hold off on throwing the Lakers is over party on Twitter then.
I love that party, and I would want an invite because yes, the Lakers are over as a party I want to attend.
I'll bring the beer. I'll bring the beer.
Please do.
Ben Phipps has joined us. Speaking of over parties on Twitter, so we've got the video of John Stockton, coming out as an anti-vaxxer, unfortunately. But as disheartening as that was for us and other longtime Jazz fans to hear about that, do you really think Twitter and the fan base kind of went a little overboard, signing online petitions to have the statues taken down and throwing John Stockton as over party?
Yeah, as far as the fan base signing petitions, which I think is ridiculous to begin with. I think the petition idea is dumb and won't do anything. But that said, if I was a coach of the high school basketball team and I needed someone to come in, hell yes, give me John Stockton.
Yeah.
I want him on my team. If I was going under the knife in anesthesia, I do not want him on my team. Medical advice. So John Stockton is and always will be the fantastic, iconic basketball player that everyone's going to remember as one of the greatest to ever go down in the point guard position. That said, off the court, he's entitled to his opinions. I'm entitled to mine, as are you. I don't really care so much other than I think the idea and the stance post-career that he's taking could be dangerous for our society at large. And it's only echoing other dangerous sentiments we're seeing. I don't like to hear that. Yeah. But again, whether it's political or religious, he has his convictions and he has every right to believe in those convictions as I do. That said, get vaccinated.
Yeah, absolutely. Get your shots. They do help, especially here in Utah. It's getting crazy these days.
Yep.
And, going back to your point, like, I don't look for John Stockton to be, this beacon of medical advice or whatever. He's one of my top 5 players of all time, hands down, but that's pretty much it. Same with Karl Malone. He's probably the greatest power forward to ever play the game. Do I look for him as any kind of moral compass? No.
No, not at all. And the statues outside the Vivint Smart Home Arena aren't for anything other than fantastic and amazing, legendary basketball play. That's it. Yeah. It has nothing to do with their off-the-court acumen on anything else. It was John Stockton sends Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals. That's his statue, not whether he got a shot in his arm. It's like him coming out and saying, I don't like the flu shot. That's great. Now send us to the finals again.
Right, exactly. Please do.
Right. Please, somebody.
Yeah. Speaking of, the Jazz and moving onward and upward, we're seeing a really unprecedented trend right now in Utah. We've got Dwayne Wade, buying ownership with the Jazz over the Miami Heat, a team he's best associated with in his playing career. We saw JJ Watt walking around Park City wearing Jazz trunks, either half tongue in cheek or whatever, with Ryan Smith on Twitter talking about potentially buying Real Salt Lake or even having ownership stock in the Jazz. I've even seen a video of Colin Cowherd, who is a notorious Lakers apologist, say on his show that if not for Michael Jordan, Stockton and Malone would have 2 championship rings, and that the players that come to play here love to play here. Are we witnessing a sudden shift in perception in regards to how the media and the players view the Jazz and Salt Lake City?
I think it's sort of this. It's like a symphony, right? So Jazz cruise through the season and they get the #1 seed. Dwayne Wade comes in. Now you're hearing JJ Watt. Yeah, we didn't make it this year. It wasn't because all that was fluff. It was because we had injuries.
Yeah.
But to these seasoned vets, these athletes, big name athletes, I think they're saying, there's something here.
Yeah.
There's something to this. Stockton, Malone, Sloan, all these people, they wanted to play here. Hell, half of them have houses here still. It's not that Utah's becoming cool. It's that it is cool, but it takes a JJ Watt or it takes a Dwayne Wade to be like, you know what? I'm going to co-sign on this. This is a great club. It's a great state. And then out of left field, Colin Cowherd says, there's nothing. Is Donovan Mitchell leaving? No, of course he's not. They want to be here. Mike Conley could go anywhere, like you said, respectively, where he wants, but he wants to be here. So Utah's always been a cool place, but it takes non-Utah voices and a little bit of star power to be like, I know the narrative, but I don't want to be here. Not only don't want to be here, but I want to invest in what's here. And I think that speaks a million words.
Yep, I agree. And I mean, come on, we've got Sundance, for crying out loud. We've got people having multi-million-dollar mansions in Park City. I've even heard, Post Malone, who's one of the coolest, rappers out there. He's got a house up in Park City as well. So yeah, I get what you're saying. The perception is starting to shift, but we've always been there.
We've always been there, but it's like Utah's got this Handmaid's Tale-esque sort of, reputation. But those athletes, coaches, celebrities, and just regular folks who have been here, like, oh no, that's not what I experienced. In fact, it's actually quite a lovely place. And I'm here to tell you, no, it's not. Stay away. You don't want to be here. You don't want to come here.
No.
But all joking aside, I think that Dwayne Wade and JJ Watt coming in here is going to speak volumes. Because if you're a JJ Watt, if you're a Dwayne Wade, and you have these younger players, these up and comers, and they're saying, well, they've already got Donovan Mitchell and Gobert, and I know that, but good God, Dwayne Wade just bought part of the Jazz. I think you raise some eyebrows, and where Dwayne Wade is looking at Ryan Smith like, look, this guy knows business. He grew a massive company that was successful. He can teach me something. And Ryan Smith saying, this guy knows the NBA. He's Dwayne Wade, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
I think it's a symbiotic relationship that's going to pay dividends for years to come.
I agree. And never mind the fact that Ryan Smith just bought Entrada.
Right. Big move.
Big move. Ben Phipps is joining us here. So let's switch gears so I don't take all of your time talking about sports. Very curious, how did you get your start in development, and what's your school of thought on self-training versus boot camping or formal training?
Looked into all of it. My road to development went through SEO back in 2000, I believe, 15. SEO at the time was something of a gray area. Is it cool? Is it kind of hackerish? Is it legit, or is it a scam? And in those days I was in sales and I didn't like that. I didn't want to be there. So I'm like, okay, well, what is SEO? Let's get to the bottom. Watched a lot of a guy named Matt Cutts, worked for Google, kind of in charge of the SEO portion of Google. Well, he taught me a lot about what SEO is and how Google views the world of search engine optimization. And the more I got into it, the more I'm like, I don't want to sell this crap. I want to do it because I see this is going to be a big deal in the future. And along that path, I came across coding where I'm like, okay, well, you build a website, you've got to build it right. You can't just throw a bunch of HTML and CSS files up and say, I'm good, now rank me, Google. There's a lot more to it. And the more I got into the coding, the more my brain said, I like this. This is fun. It's puzzles. It's challenging. It's hard. And not a lot of people want to do it. But going back to school and getting a computer science degree wasn't really viable. It wasn't really something I could do. I looked into boot camps, and you're staring down the barrel of a $10,000 bill just to go there. And even still, that certificate won't get you a job.
Yeah.
So I thought I'm going to learn as much as I can about the current technologies. And as you know, having done this, you learn one technology only for that to change or evolve into another technology. So I said, okay, what does the market need now? So I am 100% team self-taught all the way. Not to say that takes the place of a boot camp or a college degree, but if your brain wants to do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And, when I first started this lovely path of, development and programming, I actually came in around the same time that HTML4 was out. And now we're at HTML5 and CSS3 and, having, all these insane JavaScript frameworks like Vue and React. And like you said, it is a constant learning process.
Man, we are dating ourselves, Raul. We're really dating ourselves here.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah. And like you said, you have to have that, mentality of always wanting to learn, always wanting to be, in front of a computer and taking nights off and just, going to town or whatever. And one thing that really helps, in our line of work as well is, being able to look stuff up online, being able to Google something that we don't know the answer to, or just being able to take a course on Udemy or something and just kind of soak in all of the knowledge and whatnot that we need for that particular task. Anyway, so kind of in that same vein, as you probably are aware, I do a stream every week or so on Twitch, video streaming platform, kind of going step by step on building the podcast website for the closing tag. Basically a landing page where people can go in, view all the archived video, watch or listen to the archived audio. Do you think there is an audience for web development and or a future for development on Twitch?
I do. I think the audience is there and has been there. And much like yourself, when I was learning how to code, when I was aspiring to be a web developer, even the most experienced web developers that I know, they're Google professionals. These guys know every form, read through thousands of threads of a Stack Overflow. And they're helpful and they're instrumental and they help me learn how to get to where I am today. But what you don't get in that platform is the ability to interact or to fire off questions, be like, okay, so what you just did, explain that to me. So go back live, now we're live, and tell me how you did that. Is bringing the classroom into your room, and it's like a bunch of amateur collective knowledge professors getting together and saying like, okay, well, I do this for a living. So now I want you to teach me what I don't know, what I need to know to get a job right now. A degree from U of U is great and it's recognized, but that's not necessarily going to get you a job. But if you go pass a skills test for the position you're training or applying for, you want to know, look, I know exactly what I'm doing And I've been taking it under my, I've been taking it on myself, and I know what you need me to know. I know C sharp, I know Java, and I've been practicing this on my own time, and the initiative that shows is great. So yes, the audience is there,
Yeah.
and I'm all about it. Crowdsourcing, baby.
Crowdsourcing, yeah. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, especially during the pandemic, I applied for probably, I would say close to 50 to 60 web development jobs, from the time that I was laid off right before the pandemic to the time that I got the job that I have now. And almost every single one required either some sort of skills assessment or something to basically show them, yeah, I can basically tout that I know this stuff, but I can actually also show you that I know this stuff.
And as a hiring manager, I'm like, that's the guy that I hire.
Yeah.
He passed, he aced the skills assessment, he knows what he's doing. And right now, we have a need for somebody that can do just that. And that's where the hiring decision is made, not what type of degree did you get from BYU or from University of Utah or from Weber State or Utah State. It's, can you ace this test and can you solve this problem for us? And I think the Twitch community can be innovative in that area, saying, look, I've done it. I took it on. I know what I'm doing. I aced your skills test. To me, that's as great as a piece of paper hanging on a frame in the wall.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ben Phipps is joining us for a little while longer anyway. So kind of, again, switching, gears a little bit, where do you see development and or tech in the next 5 years? And do you think we as a society are at danger of being outsourced by AI or machines?
Yes and no. We already know the AI programs can, they can throw up a web page, they can write HTML, they can write CSS, and they can do all that functionality, right?
Right.
What they can't do is be a human. They lose the human element. And so I guess maybe my thought and my hope is that AI doesn't replace us, but it works with us. It's symbiotic. It's like, okay, here's what we need, but you can crunch that data in milliseconds, where it'll take me a lot longer to put that together. So I'd like to see the partnership between AI and robotics joined with the human element and the human ingenuity of creativity and the things that machines will never know.
Yeah, absolutely.
AI will never dominate the indomitable human spirit. And if you can marry those two, I think you see a wonderful future in tech.
I absolutely agree. And, a lot of the fear and a lot of, like the people's irrational paranoia, as I like to call it, of, AI is just basically going to take over every aspect of our lives. We see videos of them coming out with self-driving cars, electric, 18-wheelers. And the idea being that you merge the two together and a company can say this is more cost effective than having somebody who tends to, sleep at night or whatever, and, has to pull over every, 500 miles to either rest or refuel or both. And then you see other, videos of them come out with like, sous chefs that are robotic and whatnot. And I think a lot of that is just paranoia, but a lot of it is, actually happening. But I do think, like you said, there has to be like a symbiotic type of relationship between humans and AI, where one cannot exist without the other.
Right. Like we can't allow one to allow the other to go extinct, right? We kind of need each other. So I think the idea of an 18-wheeler traveling from Los Angeles to New York without stopping is fantastic. But there's a lot of humans that back that up. Now, Skynet, things like this, man, that makes such a great subplot or a plot for a sci-fi film.
Yeah.
I don't see that transpiring in the next 5 years. No, I don't think that we welcome our new robot overlords. I do see humans as an evolutionary species evolve to be like, how can we exploit or lasso this technology into a relationship where it advances both? It advances humans and technology to provide a better world. I actually am looking forward to it. You know, sci-fi movie plots aside, I think that we're in for a bright future, technologically speaking, if we can keep our shit together and figure it out and maintain the human element.
Yeah, agreed. And kind of a bonus question, piggybacking off of that, going back to the symbiotic relationship, there's still going to be a lot of jobs either, being downsized or completely outsourced or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that capitalism, as we know it, is going to be going away as a result of this, or do you think it, along with us, evolves to that next level?
It's a fun question, and I say fun for a reason, because you look at the Industrial Revolution, and capitalism was very much alive and well back in those days, but look how it's evolved. Capitalism is a living, breathing thing, for better, for worse. But I actually think, like you said, and I agree completely, that you've got these tools now at our disposal. Like, for instance, we don't have a need for blacksmiths like we once did, or for old school, old timey jobs, farriers and these things. It always evolves, right? And we live in today's day and age, so it must evolve. I don't think capitalism is or is going to be dead, but the current state of capitalism as it stands is in trouble because it favors one class of people that is a class that you and I will never attain by design.
Yeah. And like we jokingly said before, let's sign a petition to have Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, spearhead the whole Mars expedition and, not come back. It's fine.
Right.
We'll be fine without him.
Just put a bug in the machine where they orbit around Mercury instead of Earth. Yeah, I like it.
All right.
I like it.
Yeah, Ben Phipps is joining us for a little while longer. So I don't want to, dive too much into politics and whatnot, but I do have two final questions for you. Do you think we will ever see a progressive governor in Utah in our lifetime? And do we see someone like Donald Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody far worse possibly winning the 2024 election?
It's a scary thought. Progressive governor in Utah, first question. I think you won't see, at least for the foreseeable future, somebody more progressive than Spencer Cox. It's a very red state, but I will say this. I do see Utah turning purple. I do.
I like that. Purple.
I think you've got this polarization of like, it was Republicans and Democrats, but then there's a lot of the centrist Republicans, and they're saying, I don't jive with the cultist mentality. And I think that's the road that Spencer Cox, that's the tightrope that he's walking. He's like, yep, I'm a Republican, but I'm not on the Trump train. I'm not that person. And I can criticize him on a lot of things, but I do applaud him on that. He's saying, okay, well, let's take the issues as they are. And I think that if the Republican Party is to survive, it is going to be by someone that has that ability to be non-cultish.
Yeah.
I really do. As far as the Trump MTG Boebert, or Boebert, how do you say her name? It scares me. Yeah. It scares me not because not because of voting, right? I do believe that most Americans are woken up to the fact that like voting has consequences, elections have consequences, but there are people far more powerful than you or I or the rest of us who are gerrymandering, who are rigging, and who are swaying. And I think if authoritarianism does rise in the US, it won't be because we didn't do our part. It will be because they ramrodded and railroaded us into that. And that's what scares me.
Yeah, I agree. And, kind of a final thought on the matter. You mentioned uh, Spencer Cox being kind of this progressive uh, ish Republican.
Right.
Um, do you see maybe kind of a evolution, going back to that word, evolution, in the Republican Party to where, this group of Republicans, Spencer Cox and whoever, is kind of breaking away from the, extremist sect of the Donald Trumps and the, Marjorie Taylor Greens and whatnot?
I do. So I think that, in fact, Biden made a comment not long ago about, because somebody asked him, in 2024, are you concerned about a resurgence or this cult like GQP or this crazy version of the GOP taking over? And his answer, I can't disagree with. And he said, I don't know if the Republican Party is going to last that long. And it seems like every Twitter news cycle brings us closer to the reality that the Republicans aren't going to be what they are in the near future. I don't know if they're going to be a thing in 2024. And he's right. I think that I do believe that there's a faction, a large faction of the Republican Party that doesn't want to go down this authoritarian fascist route. But I think that we can all agree that it's not a bad thing to have a a two-party system, as long as we can be bipartisan. There is a faction of the Republican Party that wants to be bipartisan. And I think Cox has done as good as he can in demonstrating that.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones or other more extreme members of his party are saying, at all costs, no way, no bipartisan. And so I think if they are to survive, it's going to be by saying, listen, we truly love America. We want to work together. We need different points of view, and we need to come together on that. And I think that was demonstrated recently by, I don't know if you've noticed, but Cox has been on CNN a few times in the last couple of months. And Biden just appointed him to a board of governors in charge of national security. And he accepted.
This is breaking news to me.
Yeah, so it was a power move, but it was because Cox said, look, we all want America to last. We want democracy, right? And so Biden found a bunch of like-minded governors, and there's a list out there of the governors that were saying, look, let's save democracy. All right. Yeah. And so I said, okay, well, this is a national security thing. So he handpicked about 15 governors, and they're going to be the ones that are not only looking after national security, but state security. In other words, they're going to be the ones who are saying, we're bipartisan. Let's make sure January 6th does not happen again. And sure as hell doesn't happen at the Utah State Courthouse or Capitol.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that kind of harkens back to something I remember from years ago when Obama was in office and decided to handpick Jon Huntsman as the ambassador to China.
They're smart moves. Yeah. I mean, and while I don't agree with a lot of what Romney represents, he's also saying, look, we're getting out of hand here. This is not what America's about. So I think you have, and even you want to throw another Republican name there, Liz Cheney. They're saying, look, this is not how any of this works. And so you have a sane faction of the Republican Party. And I think they're the ones that are saying, look, we can be bipartisan. We can make this work. And I think they're the only ones who are fighting to say, look, let's work together and let's get it done. And I think that is what saves America.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then kind of final topic on the matter, since you're talking about Republicans, branching out and saying, hey, we want to make sure that we preserve democracy and also kind of give an olive branch to the Democrats and liberals, and basically saying, look, we're not all crazy and insane. Let's talk about some of these matters. One person in particular, I don't know if I would lump him in as a sane Republican, Burgess Owens, going in and having this open dialogue with Donovan Mitchell and saying, listen, we want to learn more about CRT, critical race theory. We want to learn more about what it is that's important to you. Let's talk about it.
I love that. I think somebody like Donovan Mitchell meeting with another pro athlete or former pro athlete in Burgess Owens, man, that's intriguing. Here they have a similar background. They have a mutual respect, I think, for sure. But I like that. It's that dialogue that is going to get things going. It's a dialogue that's going to create a better world for all of us. Man, I look at guys like Adam Kinzinger, right?
Yeah.
He's like, look, I am a Republican. I am, but what this faction is doing is crazy. And so you see the fraction in your own party, and there's a fraction that are saying, hey, no, let's have these conversations. Let's talk about the hard things, but let's do it in a way that we save our country and save ourselves. Yeah. And I think that's why the future is bright. I'm not saying that it's not going to be hard for a couple of years. We're gonna look, we fought fascism back in the 1860s. We fought it again in the 1940s.
Yep.
It's just gonna be there, but there's a lot more hope than despair. And I can't accept any other viewpoint that says we're just doomed, because that's not what history's taught us. I think there's a lot to look out for, but like the founding fathers said, you can have a democracy if you can keep it. And the last few words of that are what I hang my hat on, and what I hope and what I love about this country. If we can keep it, and you're damn right we can.
Absolutely. And then one last final question, just kind of off the beaten path, since you and I are both Hot Ones fans. What hot sauce you got in your cabinet?
Oh man, so I first of all Utah listeners, Harmon's has a great selection. I know they're statewide. Oh. If you live in the Valley, if you live anywhere in the South Valley, you need to go check out Pyrodo's. Great hot sauce selection. But as far as Harmon's goes, I've got the Bravado Spice Company. I believe it is the black and garlic.
Ooh,
it's so good. Black and garlic.
Love that.
Yep, it is so good. My family, I know guys like you and me, we're kind of out there on the heat index. Like we're like just pour fire in my mouth. But we made some soup, and just a couple of drops is enough. And my non-spice loving family had it, and they're like, whatever that is delicious. So Bravado Spice Company, black garlic, ghost pepper, can't go wrong.
Yeah. You've had better luck with spice than I have. I tried getting my now ex-wife on, the classic garlic Fresno, because it has low heat. I mean, I can barely even taste the heat, and it's got that garlic flavor. And I know that my ex-wife loves garlic, and
it's so good.
She's still into it.
Wait, are you saying the classic? What's it called? The from Hot Ones. The
Hot Ones, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I had the same one you did. What was it called?
The classic garlic Fresno.
No, but the one that you and I had, the mid-grade, the hotter one.
Calientes.
Yes, Calientes. I recommend that to anybody.
Yes.
That likes amazing flavor with the perfect heat. Like, go buy it now. You won't be disappointed. Absolutely. I'm an evangelist for it. I'll talk hot sauce all day. I could do a whole podcast on it. So you let me know when you want to cue that up. I have things to say.
All right. We'll see if we can arrange that for the next podcast interview. He is a web developer, a hot sauce lover, jazz fan, and obviously, knows his stuff about tech and about politics. Ben Phipps has been joining us for the last hour or so. Ben, it was nice to get through all the technical problems that we had earlier. It was great to talk to you. Let's hope to do it again sometime.
Let's do it. Thanks, guys. Much love. Peace out. Have a good weekend.
You too. Descend into madness with this retelling of the classic Edgar Allan Poe short story. The award-winning Telltale Heart film takes a head-first deep dive into the Sea of Madness, retelling a classic psychological thriller with a mind-bending, pulse-pounding, bloody, disgusting film, starring award-winning actor Sonny Grimsley and directed by the brilliant McLean Lundquist. The Telltale Heart has won awards and made appearances in many short and indie film festivals, ranging from the FilmQuest Film Festival in Provo, Utah, to the Minefield Film Festival in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and even international film festivals throughout the world. Revisit Edgar Allan Poe's short story, as this film brings more than just a classic horror story to a new audience, but also discovers a creative way to explore the groundbreaking psychological thriller. The narrative is enhanced through an unprecedented use of sounds and light, and the characters blend a modern sensibility with anachronistic charm, as seen through an unsettling array of time and space, while a shifting setting disorients the unwitting audience. What is seen and what is heard leads the perplexed audience to ask, what is insanity and what truly constitutes reality? TelltaleMovie.com for more information on this brilliantly insane thriller. The Closing Tag is honored to have them as a sponsor of the podcast. So that's all we got for today. I wanted to thank every person that is watching the archive videos on YouTube, downloading the pod, and even checking us out at our Facebook page. Links are all in the description. Every view, every download, every listen counts. So thank you as always, as well as a huge thank you to Ben Phipps for joining us on the show. A reminder that this podcast is sponsored by GalacticBlue, your professional web development, graphic design, and logo design resource. Visit galacticblue.net for more information on how your business can benefit from our services, as well as the Telltale Heart, the indie short film that's just sweeping all the film festivals. They won another award today. So yeah, there's that. Visit telltalemovie.com for more info on where you may be able to find it in your area. If you would like to help sponsor the podcast, we don't have a Patreon yet, but we do have a brand new website URL. Theclosingtag.com is where you'll be able to find the website once it's completed. We're still in the process of building it. But yeah, hit me up at Raul at theclosingtag.com if you're interested in helping sponsor the podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, Amazon Music, TuneIn, and many other podcast providers. Our video of each podcast can be found on our dedicated YouTube channel as well as our Facebook page. Links for those are all in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening and for watching, and thank you to Ben Phipps for coming onto the show and providing his insight. And remember to always include your closing tags.
The following is a Mad Owl presentation.